Hey guys, this is Jake from VerTuner.com. You know, I promised you guys some videos on how to remove rounded nuts and broken bolts. Today we're going to use a new tool. I actually haven't used this before. It's the Bolt Out Plus Damage Bolt Nut Remover Set. And basically what this is a set of helical nuts that will grab onto a rounded nut, seize into them, cut into them, and pull out. So we're going to see if these work. I'm going to show you how to use them. They're pretty basic, but we'll get started here. Alright, and so this actually only came with these 5 smallest sizes, so I'm not sure if we're going to have one big enough to work with here, but basically you can see how this works. There's this little helical groove here, you slide it over and it digs into the bolt and basically gives it a new mating surface. Now it comes with a socket set up, so you can use a socket, or you can use a wrench or ratchet over it if the bolt is longer. So it's really flexible, you can use it a lot of different ways. But should work. Let's see if we can get positioned here. We actually got a little bit luckier than I thought. The number 7 was just the right size to hammer onto there. Normally you'd want to go probably with the number 8 for this. This is a 14 millimeter. So we were able to hammer this on there. And I just put a breaker bar on it, and then I'm starting to turn. I've already got it to break a little bit loose. I don't know if this thing's gonna hold out for the whole time because it's just barely on there. See? But you can see what it's done is actually dug into the nut. That's allowed it to turn just a little bit, so I'm hoping we could just keep that process rolling. And eventually, there we go, get it out. You know, I went back and got a little more aggressive with that hammer and it came right out. Took a little bit of work, but there we go. That hanger's off. We have access to the carrier hanger. We're going to drill out those last couple spot welds, and then we are good to move forward with stripping the rest of the donor, which at this point is removing one more strip bolt to get these gas things down, the gas straps down, to use as forms for new ones, and then getting at these subframe bolts. And I believe we need the gas tank bolts as well, but those are pretty mangled, so I'm probably just going to buy new ones. The only reason I'm really going to screw with getting at these ones here is because I want to know the process. So normally what people do is they cut from above and then pull straight up. The problem you run into with the convertibles is that there's a cross brace behind next to the passenger seat, which is why the convertible passenger seat is about 6 inches shorter or narrower. So what we'll have to do is go through the sides. Most people go through the back side so they can hide the weld easier. I think since I'm a little less experienced with welding, I'm going to go through this side so that I don't have to weld upside down. So now that I've got the nut removed and got the socket off of it, you can see what it did. That helical shape digs in to the socket here. So it basically uses teeth to dig in, give it something to grab onto and move it out. So even though the corners of the nut here are completely rounded off, can't get anything close to a socket to grip on there or a wrench, those helical teeth really can, and they'll pull it out. Now I told you about a nut splitter. This is a nut splitter. It's pretty easy to see right away why it doesn't work in that small of a space. The small space being the shape of the U. Obviously there's plenty of space under the car, but the shape of that bracket that was onto it prevented me from getting in there with this spear here. But the idea here, the nut splitter actually does split a nut. So you would loosen this guy up, slip it over the nut. Alright, let's try that again. Alright, so essentially you take this big bolt here, you loosen it up, you slip the loop over the nut, and then you tighten the bolt back down, and this pointed end here actually cuts into the metal of the nut, splits it open, which pries it off of the bolt around it, and then after that you can use the splitter as a wrench and pull it out. So works really well, but only if you have a lot of open space, and if you don't, I really recommend getting you a set of these. They worked out pretty well today. Again, I'm going to try to do my best to get you a link to get a full kit here. Obviously I want a full kit, but it did do the job. It did pull me out of a bind. All right, take care guys. one more follow-up, guys, because it's really important to read the labels on your tools. If you see here, add-on set 52061 fills case. So there's how we're going to find our add-on set. We're using 52060. 52061 is the other 5 sockets. So I'll get you links to both those. You can get them both, fill them up, and have these tools for your toolbox. They're really nice to have. Have a good one.